Many survivors of narcissistic abuse waste a decent portion of their life trying to save the narcissist's inner child, hardly knowing that there is no such thing. Within a narcissist lives no inner child, but an inner demon who intentionally targets people, weaponizes their emotions, and abuses them as horribly as possible. They try to save something that does not exist, which is what we are going to talk about in today's episode. I am Danish, a psychologist and a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. In today's episode, I'm going to prove to you why there is no such thing like a narcissist's inner child and why you must not save it no matter how tempted you feel to do so. If that sounds interesting and you're eager to learn more, please make sure to subscribe before we get started, because your subscription can help in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. Before we dive in and get started, here is a small announcement for you. I am doing an online workshop on how to overcome betrayal trauma caused by narcissists in 5 practical steps. In this workshop, I'll help you understand how a narcissist betrays you beyond infidelity and how you can heal that trauma to trust yourself and others. If you want to register yourself at an early bird prize, which is only reserved for first 100 participants, click the I button above or the link in the description. Let me put things as they are. There is no inner child in a narcissist that can be saved, helped, retrieved, or healed. How can I say so? What is the proof for that? Well, let's first understand how an inner child gets formed before I explain to you why it is impossible for narcissists to do inner child healing. When you are born in an environment full of adversity, you are forced to activate extreme form of survival mechanisms. You disconnect from your true self because it is ridiculed. There is no space for your true emotions, so you become what the environment demands of you, what is needed of you to survive, to stay alive. And to give you an example to understand it better, let's talk about people pleasing. Why do people become people pleasers? Primarily because their parents were really harsh, authoritarian, authoritative, and they didn't give approval easily. They were condescending, quite critical. So the child learned to please them, to perform, to get what? To get their approval. But at what cost? At the cost of feeling ashamed of who they are and their capabilities. When becoming a people pleaser, a child discredits him or herself completely, assumes that there must be something deeply wrong with their nature, which is why they are not getting love unconditionally from their parents. So they adapt, they change at the cost of unconsciously betraying themselves, suppressing that shame, suppressing those feelings of loneliness, and just disconnecting from their true self and becoming this self that is nothing but a survival mechanism. Later, when such a child grows and finds out that they were traumatized as a child, and if they happen to do inner child work, what do? They go within, acknowledge that there is this aspect that feels lonely, that was abandoned, that was shamed, that is burdened, that felt unworthy, retrieves it, connects with it, and heals it. Such an individual first acknowledges that there is something wrong with what they're doing, then that paves the path for developing a strong connection with their inner aspect called an inner child. Then they do the processing of the trauma, finally integration happens, and they stop being a people pleaser. This is how inner child healing works in short. But the same phenomenon is not seen or observed in narcissists. Why? Because they hate anything that makes them vulnerable. And you know, having an inner child and being in touch with that aspect of yours means you are going to experience the most extreme levels of vulnerability. And you're talking about a narcissist. They suppress, they kill, they destroy, they delete, they purge everything that makes them feel they're weak, which is the reason why they sacrifice their true self, their core, on the altar of their false self to feel powerful, to create a fantasy for themselves where they are the king or the queen and they cannot be impacted by life or its circumstances. But that is nothing but a delusional way of living. When I say they sacrifice their true self, it sounds quite philosophical, doesn't it? So what does it mean? It simply means they create this false self by suppressing their true nature, their humanistic nature, what makes them a human being. What makes you a human being? Your emotions, your feelings, your flaws, your qualities, everything is a mixture. But they just don't want to accept that there are weaknesses to them or there are some bad elements to them. So they filter it out, suppress everything that makes them human-like, and then exaggerate their qualities, which in reality they do not have. Their true self is already shattered by trauma, which you do not completely kill. You may dissociate from it and you may survive, but you can retrieve it. However, a narcissist cannot, because they do not accept it as a part of theirs. They completely abandon it and it withers away. To give you a practical example, think of the movie Venom. Think of the actor Tom Hardy. How that parasite would take over, and when it would take over, Tom would become really strong, almost omnipotent. But at what expense? The parasite was not so secretly feeding off of him. And that is exactly what happens with a narcissist. They almost let this demon in, that evil energy in, and they say, take over, give me all the power that I need to become this big person, but consume me at the same time. That's totally okay. Destroy all my good traits, all my positive characteristics. Make me inhuman. Turn me into this evil entity that will then torture others. It's okay with me, but I want to be powerful. That venom-like entity is what replaces a narcissist's true self, their inner child. And that's why when you go in to save them, to rescue them, all you get back is hatred. All you get back is more pushback. All you get back is pain. Because you think, oh, if I love them enough, his mother didn't love him enough, her father didn't love her enough. Now, if I play that role, if I become their savior, they may know what real love is. I will fix it for them, but you never, ever succeed in doing so. Why? Because you're not trying to save an inner child. You are trying to save an inner demon. If you are one of those few lucky people to get in touch with the narcissist, fragments of true self, you will for a moment see their vulnerable side, which may give you false hope, because that's when they may acknowledge, they may say things they have never said before, such as, I'm suffering, I am unhappy with my life, I don't know what's wrong with me, I keep repeating the same cycles, but I'm not getting anywhere. But that's momentarily, that awareness, that's so temporary. Within a couple of seconds, you will see them doing the same things. That's why I say fragments of true self, just reminders of what was there. It's like you visit an old building that's totally falling apart, and then you guess how it would have looked like when in its full glory. It's only a guess. You cannot actually reconstruct it because it's gone. It's beyond hope, and you just leave it, and then people visit. What do? They visit and leave. They visit and leave. It's not a place to stay. Their heart is made of rocks. It's beating, but it's dead. It's not a place to stay. It's a place to look at with dispassionate curiosity and step back. By that I mean you can have compassion from distance. You can be empathetic from distance, but you must not go in there, because you will end up losing yourself in the pursuit of saving them. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Before you leave, make sure to check out my upcoming webinar, How to Overcome Betrayal Trauma Caused by the Narcissist. I will be doing this workshop on 7th and 14th July. Link is in the description. You can click the I button above. I'll talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.